We gather this morning, you're going to hear, I want to share just a little bit. We've been gone last weekend. We took 23 students down to San Diego to participate in an event called Elevate. So for some of those of you who have no idea what we're going to be talking about, I'll just give you a little bit of what that's about. On our field in the Church of the Nazarene, we are considered the Southwest field. California, Arizona, New Mexico, Hawaii, parts of Nevada, and a little bit of Texas where our Southwest Native American district stretches into. We make up the Southwest field. Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego is our collegiate field for our church. We have 6 fields in the United States, and Canada is its own field, and that makes up the USA-Canada region of the Church of the Nazarene. And so every year we have a field event for our youth at San Diego's Point Loma Nazarene University on the campus, and that's where we were last weekend. We gathered with 1,500 other participants of that's junior high, high school students, and their adult sponsors from all over those areas that gathered together and came to so their kids could participate in a lot of different things. There were teen Bible quizzing competitions going on. We had talent competitions. Anaya and Aubrey got up and sang and participated in our talent competition down there. We're very proud of them. We had sports activities from basketball, volleyball, soccer, ultimate frisbee, dodgeball tournaments, like a lot of fun things, games of all kinds, a lot of fellowship, and we had services every night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and Sunday night. We brought in 4 different speakers to speak into their lives. One of our general superintendents was there and came to speak this year, and Reverend Scott Daniels. And it was just a great time. And so we had an amazing time just being together, but allowing God to speak into our lives and to the lives of our students. And so this morning you're going to hear some testimonies from some of them as to what God was stirring in their life and how Elevate impacted that. If you remember, this last year we had some baptisms and some of our youth got baptized, and you heard many of them, if not every one of them, talk about Elevate and the impact that it had a year ago on their lives. And so here we are again this year, and so we're going to share that. But one of our youth made a quick video just so you can kind of see a snippet of what Elevate looked like real quick, and then I'm going to be we're going to share a few things, and then I'm going to have some students come up. So just for a moment, let's watch their video. That's our Sunday morning church service. Not bad, huh? Kid number 44 was huge with this frisbee. We've been participating in this. This was, for Heidi and I, this was our 34th year of this event. We've been 33rd year. How old is our daughter? I get confused. She's 33. 33rd year. So this is year 33 for us of being a part of this event. We have adults here in the church that I took down there when they were teenagers many years ago. So we just really believe in what this event is about. That's our Sunday morning church service out in what's called the Greek Amphitheater there at Point Loma. It has a lot of historical importance there, and we're able to go out and sit outside and have a morning service and worship together and share in communion together, and it's a powerful time to gather. And so really proud of our students. Those that participated, they involved in a lot of things over the weekend. Definitely, people knew who RCC was. These guys are loud. They're noticeable, so appreciate you guys. I appreciated their support when Anaya and Aubrey participated in Teen Talent. The entire youth group showed up in force, cheering them on, and well, it's just a blessing to see the camaraderie that they share. Before they come up and share, I want to share a couple of passages with you, and before they come up and say anything. I told you we had an amazing time at Elevate, and in less than a month, 12 of our students will be heading off to NYC, and you guys have been doing a great job helping support us and through a lot of different ways, and we're going to talk about a couple things at the end of the service and ways you can help us just finish up where they're at. But they're going to be going to our Nazarene Youth Conference, which is a week-long conference in Salt Lake City, Utah this year. They have it every 4 years typically for USA and Canada. There'll be 10,000 students and sponsors gathered together. And so we have a number of our kids that'll get a chance to go and be a part of that, and that's going to be great. And so we've asked a few of our students to share. I asked them all to pray about sharing, and some of them have chosen to do so this morning. And I believe that sharing our testimony is such an important part of our Christian growth. Getting comfortable talking about who God is to you individually is incredibly important. And God's Word says a few things that I think validate this for us this morning. A couple scriptures I just wanted to throw out real quick. Psalm 40 verses 2 and 3 says that He lifted me out of a slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire, and He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God, and many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him because of what they see in us as we share this new song that's in our heart that God has given us. Psalm 107:2 says, let the redeemed of the Lord tell what? Their story. That's you and I. That's all of us supposed to tell their story. We're supposed to tell our story of faith, of how God has shaped us and changed us. That's what it's about. And then I love this verse 10 and 11 of chapter 12 of Revelation. It says, the writer says, then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of His Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters who accuses them before our God day and night has been hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony. Now this morning you're going to hear a few testimonies of faith. And so, but first I had a question. Those of you who are here this morning, how many of you came to know the Lord as a teenager? A few of you. Just a few of you. Not a ton. You guys don't count right now on that. I'm talking about the rest of them. But some of them, you guys look this way, all you teens. Raise your hand again if you came to know the Lord as a teenager. So there's you a few others that are just like you guys, that they came into a relationship with Jesus when they were a teen. And it's great to see them here now. I don't know that they have walked faithfully with the Lord all this time, but we're going to assume that they have this morning. We're going to believe that. But I will say that in today's world, it's incredibly inspiring to see young people making decisions to follow Jesus. And when we see teenagers being willing to share their faith, speak out about who God is to them, It's incredible. It affects me so much to see them bringing friends to church and sharing their faith. It's just an amazing thing. And so sometimes I think when we've been walking with Jesus for a long time, we forget what a passionate, inspired love for Jesus looks like, because we get comfortable and we get complacent and we stop sharing our testimony. We forget that people need to hear what God has done in our lives. And so this morning, I hope that you're inspired as you hear some powerful testimony of what God is doing, and we'll wrap up with a few other thoughts, but we're not going to do this in any particular order, but I know some of you are wanting to share this morning, have prepared to share, and so let's go. You guys, here we go. Let's make sure you share your name.
Okay, good morning, church. My name is Anaya Ramos. Went to Elevate last weekend. And I think for me, I think this Elevate experience is a lot different from any other ones I've been to. I've been to 3 total. The first one I went to, I didn't really know anybody, so it's kind of on my own. I mean, I met my people, but I didn't know them yet. Last year's, it was great. I do feel that I went with a closed heart. I left with it a little bit more open, but I wish I could have given more of myself that year. And I definitely learned my lesson, because this last school year has been a nightmare. But God blessed me with this experience, and being at Elevate really, I feel like, closed that chapter of my life. And it was the first time that I've ever really felt like protected and like loved by God. Like, I've always known, the church always teaches us, and I've always grown up knowing that God loves me, but I really felt it this time. And I do believe it's because I have such a strong youth group that there was a moment where we were all praying, and I just felt this like overwhelming rush of like peace just by walking near them. Like, it's a crazy experience. It's unexplainable. You would just have to be there to understand it. But I'm very grateful to see the growth in every single person that was there. And like, even our youth group, we're not ashamed of our love for God. There would be times where they'd be preaching, and then they're like, okay, guys, go back to your seats, and we're still there like crying and like praying and stuff. But I think it just goes to show that we've gained a lot of confidence in our faith, and we're not afraid to show it compared to even last Elevate. And me and myself as well, I'm ready to go into the next part of my life in college and really like have God by my side. I've been thinking, like, how am I going to do this by myself? But just hearing God's voice, it gave me a calming sense, like, I'm going to be able to do it because I'm not alone. I'm with him always. But yeah, I'm just very grateful for this Elevate. Who's next?
Good morning, church family. How are you doing today? Well, my name is Dave Valdovino, son of Jose Valdovino from California. Well, you can call me David if you want. I'm just joking. I'm David. I'm Dave Valdovinos. I'm 16 years old, and I go to Golden Valley High School, which is the best high school in my opinion. But people might not like it, but I don't want to hear it. All right? I'm just kidding. All right, let me begin. So before coming to Elevate, I was feeling pretty far from God. I felt like I couldn't hear him like I used to. But as I was writing this, the 2 weeks before Elevate, I wasn't reading the Bible, and I wasn't praying. So obviously, I can't hear God if it's a one-way relationship. How am I supposed to listen to him if I'm not listening to him? Like, I'm the only one that's speaking, and how am I? If I'm the only one that's speaking, I'm not listening to him. I'm not listening to him speak to me. So the first night, I felt like during the worship and through the preaching, by the way, Pastor Tito was our first speaker. He was amazing. Like, I felt like he interviewed my parents, because I feel like, how do you know everything about me? Like, his story is so familiar to me. But the first night, I felt like God wanted to give me a hug. Like, God wanted to show his love for me. But I pushed him away. I rejected the hug. I was kind of angry with God, because I thought like he wasn't for me anymore. Like, he gave up on me. So that night I rejected God, even though He was just trying to help me. And the next day, I wrestled with that in my mind. How could I think that way? How could I say that? And then the second night came, and through the worship and through junior sister Stephanie, through the Holy Spirit, I felt God was saying, I'm not disappointed in you, and I love you so much. Um, then I accepted God's hug, and I broke down. I repented. I asked for forgiveness, and I'm forgiven by I'm washed in His blood. By His grace, I am saved. And I just felt like God was telling me, I love you, mijo. That's how you say it. I like to say it in Spanish because it's so sincere. Like, you are my son. Like, no one can take that away from me, right? And and it was Saturday, the second service, it was Saturday. And I realized how much God has blessed me, even though I don't deserve it. In our 3 Ultimate Frisbee games, I got at least 1 point. And I thought that was amazing. I felt like it was so cool. And I always wanted to experience that, even though I didn't get the chance to play on like a high school like football team or soccer team or volleyball team. I got to play with my family, and I got to get a point with them. And what else? And that night when we were in small groups, I confessed some stuff to my family, and that opened the doors, and people were telling me how sincerely they love me as their brother, and like God answered that long prayer I had. That was my prayer for a long time. I was like, God, am I doing a good job as a friend? And people were telling me that I think you guys said I was strong. That you guys saying that you love me so much as your brother. That really tugged my heart because that was a prayer that I had for a really, really long time. So God answered my prayers. So God listens to you. Even though it feels like He's silent, He's listening to you. What else? So I was so grateful that night that God answered my prayer. Then I realized that God sincerely loves me and cares for me. But that brought me to the question, do I sincerely love God? Like, God loves me, but do I love God? And I wrestled with that. And I was feeling kind of guilty because I feel like I was just using God like as a genie. Like, God, can you give me this? And then like I walk away. That's not how it is. That's not a relationship. That's an unhealthy relationship, and that's how it shouldn't be. So I wrestled with that. And on Sunday, through some people like Miss Christie, they helped me to process this. And I felt God told me that this is a process, that one day I'll be able to say with full confidence, with all my heart, that I love God with all my heart, and I can confidently call Him Lord and Savior. And yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Dang, David, you just gave me chills, bro. Um, Story is a little different, but same. My name is Bradley. This is my. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. It's a lot of elevates, but Elevate is a place growing up that I loved, and it was a place where I felt comfortable, and it was also the place that shaped me in today. Like my testimony during the baptism, it's what made me get close to Christ. At Elevate, there's moments that I will never, ever forget. And I feel like going into this Elevate, I was expecting the same outcome every single Elevate. But little did I realize God was moving in my life in a whole different way. And I think that what I needed to realize is that every single Elevate isn't going to be the same thing. And what I should treat it as is a staircase. Every single Elevate should be something I should build on and grow on, not just like, hey, I'm going to grow closer to God, even though I really did. But what I needed to work on is what's next for me. And that's what I look at Elevate for, is that next Elevate is what is God going to do in my life next. I prayed a lot, and I think I got an answer, but I was scared to accept it. That first night, like you guys know, Tito, that guy was freaking crazy. And I think, honestly, that's what I needed, because we've never had a guy at Elevate, or anyone at Elevate, just be straightforward with us. And he got to the straight truth. And that honestly, that kind of hit me. We had, the worship was crazy. Shout out Erica for saying the Father's House. Song we didn't know, but that song, oh my gosh. I think that God officially called me to something, and I didn't know it the first night. And that's what I went to Saturday night with open mind. And even though my mind wasn't in the right place at all, but I came into Saturday for worship with an open mind and open heart and asking God, what's next for me? And during worship, I officially broke down. I sat at my chair, and I've never cried that much in my life. And I felt God has officially called me to ministry. And I questioned it. I'm like, well, are you really calling me to ministry? Are you really choosing me? Because the thing that I struggle with for so long is making the right choice. I'm like, am I making the right choice? And then that night I prayed about it in one of the prayer rooms, and I'm like, he's really calling me to ministry. And I officially got my call to that God is telling me to work on myself, but to work on myself to achieve bigger and greater things. Saturday evening, Doug from BFC, he went up to me and he told me that he saw something in me Friday night during worship. And I kind of looked at him like, what do you mean? Like, just a guy. And he was like, no, he's like, I could see Jesus working through, but he told me to be patient. And that's the word that kind of hit. I'm like, I don't really like patience, I'm not gonna lie. And I struggle with patience. And then he told me that he's like, I can see that you're gonna be changing your life and that you can change lives inside your church. He's like, but stick with God. And I just kind of played it off, but later that night I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, how can I achieve something that I just got told? Like, how can I make someone proud of me in a way? I think, like I said, I wanted to elevate. I knew who God was, but I don't think I knew who I was in myself and God. And I think that's something I needed to work on. And that Saturday night, I changed it. And I found myself in God. And that was the biggest thing I struggled with for so long. Like I said, Elevate is a place where it's an emotional place. And this Elevate was definitely different. Different group of people, and just a different attitude, different age, and just the way my mindset was different. But I will say that this Elevate was definitely different. Every single night, all of us cried. And like I said to everyone, to the guys, that at Elevate, none of us cried every single night. It was always the last night. But I think that's what Jesus was doing. Jesus was moving, and he was very much alive in that place every single night, not just the last night. Like David said, prayers were answered, and prayers were seeked, and that we seeked him. And I will continue to build from this, and I will continue to see what God has in store for me and what he has going to be challenging me to. And whatever challenge he gets me, I will accept it, and I will face towards it, because I know that I have him now, and that I have to have the right mindset with him. And that, yeah, I just want to thank Jesus, and I want to thank my youth. I want to thank Pastor Kevin and Heidi. I want to thank Erica. I want to thank Abby. I want to thank all you guys for making Elevate possible, because without you guys, it wouldn't be the same. I got one more Elevate to go, but I'm gonna make sure this last Elevate that there's no turning back, because I don't get to go again. So, yeah, thank you.
Good morning, church. As some of y'all know me as White David, aka David. I just want to thank Tim birthed Isaac. His son is the one that truly invited me to Elevate for the first time. And whenever I went, I was all like, no, I don't think I should go. But Isaac was like, bro, just go. It is so worth it. It's the best thing you'll ever do. So I went for the first time. And for the first 2 times I went, I truly wasn't following the Lord. I was truly going back to my old states, going back to my old habits. But this last time that I went, the first time I went, I failed. The second time I went, I came back to the Lord and I was following him, but I would say I failed again. But this time, I expected it to be like all those other times where I went and I cried, and the Lord was just pulling me towards him. But it wasn't that. It was more of like, hey, I'm here. You're the one that's running from me. You need to start coming back to me. You need to quit making those mistakes. Those are all you choosing to run that way. So I could truly say now that I'm quitting my bad decisions, quitting all my addictions, quitting all the bad habits I have, and chasing back towards the Lord and never going back.
Hi, I'm Bridget Colvin. People call me BG. And I wasn't prepared for this. I actually thought I wasn't gonna come up because like I'm really anxious and I'm not good at public speaking as much as you would say, and I don't know how to find the right words. But when I was at Elevate this weekend, a lot has changed in me. A lot, I'd be honest. And I've always grown up in the church ever since I was adopted when I was like 2, right? I've always been in this church. And so I knew who God was. And like, of course I'd say, yeah, I love God. Yeah, like God, let's go. But I was faking it because like I knew who God was, but I wasn't truly believing him and I wasn't truly seeking him in the way that like you would be like, oh my gosh, you changed my life forever, you know? And so this Elevate, I've been to 3 Elevates, my 7th grade, 8th grade, and now my freshman year. And the last 2, I'm not going to say that they were bad because they weren't. They just didn't speak to me as much as this one spoke to me. Does that make sense? Okay, sorry. And so I was really testing my faith with God. Like, not me, yeah, me, technically, but also because my grandma, my very dear grandma, who I love so much, is struggling with ALS. You guys know her, Vicky Trevino. And it seriously really made me doubt that God was even real. Because like you guys talk about these life-changing moments that you've had with him, and I'm like, why can't I have that, you know? Because everything's going wrong in my life. My grades are bad. My grandma's dying, and there's no cure for it. And so, yeah, I've been really struggling with God. And then when I went to Elevate, the first night, oh my gosh, it just opened my eyes up so much. But like, it was to where I opened up my eyes, but I was like, God's not really real. Like, I'm struggling back and forth with him. And then the second night, Scott, he was talking about how God told one of his disciples to follow him. And I've repeated this so many times to you guys, but when he said that, it made me realize that I wasn't truly following him. I was wanting to go in front of him and just do my own thing and like be my own person because, you know, he's not really here. But when he said, follow me, and then Tito, when he was like faking it, all these things, it resonated with me. And like, it made me realize how badly or how blind I was to see him. And so when I came back from Elevate, I swear, I was changed. I was like, whew. And so when I got back home from Elevate, I went to my room and I went to my dresser and I opened the Bible and I just started reading and praying. And I'm like, I know this is going to be hard, but like I've actually seen God for the first time my 3rd year in Elevate. So God can do miracles, and like it takes time, you know? Because like when you guys raised your hand saying, oh yeah, I found God as a teenager. Yeah, some people don't get that. Some people are like, I still didn't find him when I was 15, 16 years old. And like I feel like God just moves in really mysterious ways, and he will come to you when the time is right. And for me, the time was now. Thank you.
Good morning, church, family. How are you guys doing on this wonderful morning? My name's Rodrigo. I grew up in the Spanish service, grew up here in the church. I've started coming to English service like a couple years ago, but this is my 6th and last Elevate. I know I'm old. I've been coming for a minute now, so it has definitely been a journey with all these Elevates, and I will say, like a couple of them said, out of all my Elevates, my 5th Elevate, last year's Elevate, was my impactful Elevate. The story that they're talking about, that they're experiencing, was my Elevate last year, was my life-changing Elevate, where I found the Lord, where I met Jesus for the first time, where I was called to ministry, and the reason why I am and who I am today was because I met him on one of those nights last year. So as I like to say, like, you know, Elevate's my 1-year anniversary with the Lord. You know, I've been following him for a year now. But this year's Elevate was definitely really different. It was not the same. It was not this huge life-changing experience the way they're experiencing it. And I remember coming, my heart posture this Elevate was I was so excited to feel the way I felt last year, that you know, giggly googliness for the Lord, you know, this absolute joy and that they're experiencing. And so when I show up to Elevate and I went through my Elevate, it was different because this Elevate wasn't so much for me to have this great experience, but for some reason, this Elevate was, I was there to watch them, and I got to see them in the same light that I was sitting in their seats, basically. What was happening to me last year, I'm getting to watch it happen live, and I'm like, this is amazing. Of course, I still was impacted by the Lord at Elevate. I still encountered him, and I think one thing that he was showing me was that my relationship with the Lord this past year was a little feelings-based, and I feel like this Elevate, he was like, we're going to change things up a bit, and we're going to mature a little bit in our relationship and make it faith-based. Because feelings can come and go, emotions come and go, but our faith is what should stay sturdy and should stay still. It should stay firm in him. And so this Elevate, I was looking for those feelings again. I was looking for that, like, you know, that joy, that passion, that fire, that grit that they were experiencing. And I was watching them experience it. I'm like, dang, I want that too. But I feel like the Lord was saying, hold on, slow down. We're taking a bigger step this year. We're doing something different. We're doing something new. Because if I'm called to ministry, I have to be obedient in him, and I can't be switching up on him with feelings. I have to stand firm no matter how I feel. So I didn't feel the greatest. I didn't feel this big, big fire like they are, and I'm so happy you guys are feeling it. I really am. I didn't feel that, but I'm thankful to the Lord, because if I kept experiencing these feelings over and over again, it would become a pattern, and I'd get used to that. So when I don't feel those feelings, I'd freak out. But this year, I didn't feel those feelings, and it scared me a little bit because I thought maybe something's wrong with me, but it wasn't. It was just that there's this change in my relationship with God, and I'm thankful for him, and I'm going to need it later down the road. So this Elevate's definitely been different. I didn't feel a whole lot, but I did see a whole lot, and I saw it in these people, in their hearts, and I wanted to share that the Lord moved so much in their lives and mine as well. But like, I was crying just watching my friends, my family, my brothers and sisters, some of them who I've been praying for time and time again to come to the Lord. Some of them aren't here. Tehran and Caden, a couple at Max aren't here. But there have been life-changing experiences that I've witnessed in their lives. And I remember one of the nights I was praying, like, Lord, like, show me that you're here. I know that you're here, but for some reason, for once in my life, I don't know why I asked. I was like, God, I just want to see that you're here with me. And I was expecting some big, like, I don't know, you coming from the sky or like me feeling this. But I looked over at my friends and I saw them like crying out to the Lord. I saw them worshiping their hearts out. I saw them praying for one another. And in that moment, he looked at me and he was telling me, and he was like, I am here and I've been here and I'm working here. Don't you see me? There's like a giant road sign that says work ahead. And it's like all the youth over here. And it's like, come on, I've been here, right? And so that was them. Their hearts were being stirred, and that their hearts being stirred my heart. And it impacted me in a beautiful way of seeing that when the Lord moves, like sometimes it's not just in our face, in our hearts, but sometimes when you open your eyes and you take your eyes off of yourself for a second and you look around, you will see him. He is not always just here, but sometimes we just have to take the time to just like take a 360, take a look around. What's going on in your family, in your friends, in your church, and you will see him there. You will find him there. So although I didn't see the Lord right in front of my face this year, he was moving so powerfully in them, and I'm so proud of them. And I just wanted to tell you guys that I love you guys so much, and I am so proud of you guys for all the change that I've seen, for all the things that you guys have been doing. You guys are destined for great things. The Lord has great plans for you guys, and I'm excited for what's next. And I just want to encourage you guys to never let go of the Lord. Right? We stumble, we all fall, we all slip away sometimes. But no matter how many times you slip away, just come running back, over and over and over again. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. That faith is sturdy, and I think that is something that we all need. Is that we can't rely on our feelings most of the time, and I think it's time for faith to be involved more in my life, and not just feelings, but true like grit, some like hardcore faith. And so my prayer is that the Lord really starts to test me, test my heart, and test my faith. Because if I've been walking with feelings this whole time and I've been doing it wrong, then I want to do it better this time, and I want Him to really grab a hold of my hand and walk me to where He needs me. So. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. I love all you guys too as well. So thank you so much, and God bless.
You know, it's super exciting to see that the church is in good hands. And we need to be reminded of that. As I was talking with Tehran, and Tehran's not here this morning, we were talking at Elevate, and he said, Pastor Kevin, if you would have told me a year ago that I would feel like I do about God today, that I would have said you were crazy. And those are huge statements to come from anyone, especially when they come from young people. And so I hope that today when you leave inspired, challenged in your own right to like, man, am I like this? Do I feel this way about God? Is God stirring my life, and is he doing these things in my life? And then how can I do like them? It takes a lot to get up here and stand in front of a bunch of people and be very open about your life. And that's what that's how the church began. That's how the church grows. The Church of God, the Church Universal began and became what it is today by the power of testimony. That's all that happened. If we go back and look at the book of Acts, we see the launching of the church as we know it today. And it's all done as we see. It started by Peter and John preaching and telling people, this is what we know. This is what we saw. This is what we experienced. And they started telling everybody about it. And the more they told, the more lives were changed. And the word says thousands of people were coming to faith by the power of their testimony. And Scripture says, when we go back and we even look in Acts chapter 4, the chief priests and the leaders and all these, they were freaked out, literally, by Peter and John, because they saw Peter and John as ordinary, unschooled people, preaching and sharing this gospel message that was changing lives. And they didn't know what to do with that. It was blowing them away. They're like, these guys they're just simple guys. And something has happened to them. And this message they're sharing, remember, they're trying to stop it. They tried to lock them up in jail and everything else to stop the message. And all it was just these guys sharing their testimony of faith, just like young people did today. That's how the church grows. That's how the church stays alive. And so we can't argue with this power of the testimony of God in a person's life. People can't argue that. When you tell people of who Jesus is to you and the difference Jesus has made in your life, people cannot argue that. They'll argue God's word all the time and try to tell you why they think it isn't right, it isn't true, and all these fallacies and everything else, and they can dispute that as long as they want. But when you tell them, this is what happened when I met Jesus. This is how my life is different because of Jesus. This is how I have seen him and seen God over and over in time reveal himself to me as real, like you just heard from these young people. When you tell that, there's power. And the word says people come to faith by that power. And each and every one of us hold that power within us. So when we read these stories of Scripture and we read about people like Peter and John doing these amazing things, every one of us has the power within us to do the same thing. Because I just told you that all they said was they were unschooled, ordinary people. Any of you fit that? Some of you can't raise your hand because you're smarter than me and you are schooled. You're not ordinary. You're much greater than that. But for the most part, that's us. We're just a bunch of ordinary folk. But we have the power to change the world. It says that thousands upon thousands upon thousands were coming to faith simply because they were telling their story. I want you to learn from the young people here today. I want you to be inspired to tell your story. But I just want to say one thing about telling your testimony. And I've shared some of this stuff before, but the number one thing I want you to know is that integrity validates your testimony. So guys, you shared a lot of good stuff. Integrity validates that. It affirms everything that you've said. The integrity is adherence to moral and ethical principles, a soundness of moral character, and honesty. Being who God has called you to be. That is your integrity. Living that life, that will validate the power of your testimony. That brings it to fruition. If you go back and look in Acts chapter 5, we saw the story of Ananias and Sapphira, and if you've never read it, go read it. But they were lying. They lied about stuff. Their integrity was called into question, and it says they died on the spot. It was pretty harsh. God doesn't mess around. Integrity means everything when it comes to your testimony. As a parent, we've instilled with our kids the importance of integrity. We've talked to them about that as something that no one can take from you. Matthew chapter 5, verse 37 says, all you need to say is simply yes or no, and anything beyond that comes from the evil one. In other words, talk is cheap. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, and allow integrity to drive you and to shape you and to impact those around you. And your life should validate your testimony. So if this is who God is, if what you say is real, then make sure your life that you live out validates those words. Live a life of integrity to validate your testimony. That's what I'm challenging you to do. And so, I don't know where you were at when you were a teenager. I know where I was at when I was a teenager. I wasn't here. This was not my group. I knew some people, maybe, that went to church. But I don't think I knew any Christians. I didn't have this group. I didn't know these people. And I look back a lot and I think, wow, man, what if I would have known what they know? And then sometimes we come to faith later in life and we forget that, and then we start living this life and then we get to this place where we forget what it was like when we were excited and on fire and passionate about Jesus, and he was really making changes in our lives, and we forget that. And so I always want you to be challenged this morning to go and share your testimony, to tell someone your story this week, to talk about who God is with other people, to be Peter and John, go out and change the world through the power of your testimony, simply by telling people who God is to you and what he means to you. We're going to close up in song here in just a moment, and I'll invite the worship team to come on up as they do this. But I want you to know that the importance of your testimony to the world is predicated on the value of your integrity. So if you're saying it and not living it, you're damaging the church, the big church, not Ridgeview Community Church. But you can damage us. I remember one day there was a voicemail on the answering machine at the church, and somebody who didn't go to our church, somebody who had been watching somebody's social media attacks, who had down mentions that they attended this church, though they hadn't been here in a long time. They hadn't been here in years. But they called and left this message, said, I don't know what kind of people you have there at your church, but you need to talk to this person. They are damaging your church, claiming to be a Christian and doing the things they're saying. And I knew exactly what they were talking about because I had seen it myself. We can damage the church as much as we can grow the church. Integrity is everything. I want you to find your integrity, live it out, and I want you to have a little bit of a passion. And I hope you leave that this morning. Hope you leave today going, man, I'm so encouraged to hear of young people loving Jesus. And you can play, some of you have already played a part in that, but I'm going to give you 2 ways this morning before we sing that you can continue to play a part. We're trying to finish up our fundraising for NYC, and many of you have been great. You have bought tickets to breakfast at Applebee's, to fundraising lunches, to all kinds of different things, and you guys have been amazing. We have 12 students that are heading off to NYC and 4 of us adults. They've been raising $1,700 per person to go, and we're close. But we need a little help to get over the finish line, because part of what we're also doing is we're driving there to Salt Lake in vehicles, and we've still got gas prices are a lot more than when we started fundraising. And so that's a long way to go and come back. Parking at the hotel has gone up quite a bit. All these things, we still have some costs and we're still trying to raise it. There is a board in the foyer with a ton of envelopes on it that say NYC and dollar amounts. And what we're doing is we're just asking everyone to consider taking one or two of those envelopes or make up your own amount, I don't know, and take an envelope and say, you know what, I can put $20 in this one, or I can put $10 in one, or I can drop $500 in one, or you can take the envelope, put something in it, drop it in the offering, or take that envelope and then go online on our Church Center app and give to NYC, because there's a line item for that. Give that amount. Make up your own amount. We just want to get over the top. And in 2 weeks, we're having a bake sale, our very last thing before we go to NYC. We're going to have a little bit of a dessert auction, and you can buy some goodies and give and help get the rest of our kids, because what you heard today, you're going to hear more of in a month when they come back and tell you about what God did in their life and how He is changing them. And you get to be a part of that journey. So those of you who have supported the youth in some fashion already, you're part of this story that you heard this morning. And if you can help us be part of this bigger story of NYC and help finish off what we're trying to get to, we would be incredibly indebted to you. We would be so incredibly thankful for that. And then when you hear them tell their story next month, after they come back from that event, you can sit there and go, I was part of that journey. You are part of their story. You have the chance to be part of their testimony. I don't know if that excites anybody else, or maybe it's just me because I'm the old youth pastor and all that, but the thought of getting the chance to be part of a young person's story of faith, I can't put a price tag on that. And so if you can bless and give and help support in some way, we would appreciate that so much. And believe me, they will deeply appreciate all of it. So let's stand this morning. We're going to close in song, and just want you to be mindful of what you've heard today. Question and ask yourself, am I passionate like they are? Am I sharing my faith like they are? I mean, most of these guys have brought somebody to church this last year. How many of you have done that, right? I mean, ask yourselves those questions. Am I doing my part? They're doing theirs. It never stops. We just have to keep repeating this story over and over and over. Thank you guys for sharing, for getting up in front of the church, sharing your heart. It takes a lot to do that. I appreciate it so much. May you be encouraged today by what you heard. Altars are always open if you have a need this morning. As we close in song, we're going to honor the Lord together. Father, we thank you for these testimonies of faith that we have heard this morning. God, we see in your word that it was the power of the personal testimony that brought people to faith, that grew the church. That's where the church began. The church began when people started telling the story of faith to anyone who would listen. And that's how the church continues to grow today. Nothing has changed. God, I'm thankful for these young people who are willing to tell their story of faith to anyone who would listen. Thank you that they would share it with us today. May we be inspired and challenged to go and do the same. And God, may you stir our hearts, and Lord, if it's within your will that others could help these kids finish out their fundraising for NYC, God, would you bless those who can give a little extra to help them today? God, we love you and we praise you. Bless us, we ask, as we close in song. We thank you.